Alright, everyone, I think I'm starting to like Pompeo a little bit, which, I know is going to sound crazy to people that are apologists for Venezuela. They still think that you're a neocon if you support the right of the Venezuelan people not to be in a tailspin economically. I've never supported direct intervention of any kind, but the idea of using sanctions to try to get Maduro out, yeah, it's fine. Who fucking cares? We can unilaterally sanction anyone we want, and so can any other nation. Russia can sanction the United States tomorrow. Who fucking cares? What authority is going to stop anyone from doing that, by the way? The UN? Globalists? Fuck the globalists. So when I saw that Pompeo was saying that basically the leftists over in the UK were disgusting because they're coddling Maduro, as he specifically singled out Jeremy Corbyn, the socialist dude over there, I think, isn't he vying for Theresa May's position? Probably end up getting it because she's not exactly popular. I support that. Yeah, the United States should mock people around the world that do stupid shit. Yeah, why not? Socialists, communists, assorted scumbags like that. Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn is a scumbag, so he should be ridiculed. Some people in the UK will get their dander up, probably, U.S. interfering. Well, you should interfere in your own affairs then. Another video for today will be about Juncker there for the EU, lamenting the fact that he didn't get involved more directly in trying to stop Brexit from ever going forward. You got a bunch of people breathing down your neck from within and without your own state, and then people will get upset at Pompeo saying something. It's funny, because Pompeo's not some great warmonger. He's not John Bolton. He's never actually given any indication that the U.S. is going to do anything violent with regards to Venezuela. All he said is all options are on the table. Dude, that is a stale old line that every fucking politician drags out whenever there's some high-stress negotiating going on. Whenever there's some diplomatic crisis, all options are on the table. Yeah, we might give you money and we might nuke you, haha. That's to keep the foe, the adversary, the other interested party that you're not getting along with, on their feet so that they don't know exactly what you're going to do next. If you were to tell them, yeah, here's our job in Venezuela is, specifically, we're going to use sanctions to try to force Maduro out. Well, now Maduro knows what to plan for now, doesn't he? You've just given him forewarning. You intend to engage him economically, not in a military sense, so he doesn't have to worry about that, but he does have to safeguard the economy and prepare for the fact that the U.S. is going to breathe down his neck some more. Well, then it's going to be easier for him to cling to power, as the failed dictator that he actually is. I find it funny when people who are leftist, Corbyn fans, as a red Ed or whatever, when they say, well, U.S. get out of Venezuela, we back Maduro. It's very, very funny because Maduro has already invalidated the entire political system of his country. You're saying that as long as he follows the economic principles that you happen to agree with, you have no problem if a person that comes to power scraps the constitution of their country and essentially dissolves the legislative function entirely, subjugates the courts supremely, and installs military rule. So you don't have a problem with that as long as the person is a socialist. What if it were Augusto there? What if Pinochet came to power again and did something like that? I bet that Corbyn wouldn't back him. And at least then the economy wouldn't be in a tailspin. Then the economy would be doing fine. It's very funny that when you have some comparable regime from Latin America or in the past that adopts a more laissez-faire, arguably more transitionary period before almost an anarcho-capitalist society, things go well. Yeah, there's a lot of death and purges, and then everyone says about how horrible they are. Pinochet, oh my God, he's terrible, threw people out of helicopters. But Maduro is a fine guy. When he has people killed, it's for the revolution or something. What a bunch of goofballs. People like Corbyn actually believe this. I find it very good that Trump is staffing himself around with people who are willing to call out socialism for the butcherous and crazy ideology that it really is. And communism, leftism in a more general sense beyond the center left, is a crazy system. It kills. You look at the death count. Here, let's look at the death count from far-right regimes, and this is debatable. Let's even throw Hitler in there, even though technically that doesn't count because not really a far-right ideology when you really think about it. Okay, there's some debate to be had. I'm not going to sit there and make a 10-part fucking 2-hour special on what Nazi ideology falls into economically. So we'll throw him in there too. Okay, so he's got 6 million... plus, millions dead in World War II in general. Let's just blame all the deaths on him. Let's give him 30 million fucking deaths because, it's great. Pinochet, what was he, 20 to 50,000, I think was the estimate? I could be wrong. Okay, 2 dictators. All right. Now let's look at Mao. Mao alone may be upwards of 60 million. from one person. Could be 100 million. We're not even really sure. It's not like they had detailed census records back during pre-industrial China. It's not like Mao was exactly going to be forthcoming about how many people had been butchered as a result of his policies. And hell, when you look at left-wing purges, when you look at like right-wing purges, like a Pinochet or something, and even throwing Hitler in, most of the deaths are intentionally inflicted. But when you have leftists in charge, if we look at Stalin or Mao or anyone other than Pol Pot for the most part, Pol Pot was probably the most insane dictator in history. Read up about him. The dude is fucking he was a literal psychopath. I think he killed some of these people himself and enjoyed doing so. If you look at Mao or Stalin or some of the big communist and socialist dictators, most of the deaths that are calculated were inadvertent. They were the result of state policy. It's not that they went out and shot a field full of people. It's that they put those people on a collective farm and let them starve to death. They worked people to death. They didn't execute them. They died in a famine. You look at the Holodomor or Holodomor. I always get that one mixed up. Fucking who cares? Apparently the history books don't even talk about it for the most part because it's despite the fact that it was something about like what 20 million people died. Yeah, it doesn't fit their narrative of right-wing bad, I suppose. You got people being slaughtered in Venezuela right now. And members of Western governments either have no problem with it or only have a very limited problem with it. Meanwhile, they're worried about internet trolls. They're worried about people saying unkind things on the internet because they might be extremist. We have an extremist regime in Venezuela, and you don't even want us to sanction it. It's funny, so an individual with odd beliefs randomly spewing them out on YouTube, they need to be stopped at all hazards. We must crack down on these people. But you've got someone who's an actual dictator with control over an actual military, with tanks and machine guns and all of that, killing his own people, threatening his neighbors, and threatening us, and we shouldn't do anything about it. I find that a little bit strange, now don't you? I don't think that Paul Joseph Watson is as scary as Maduro. Now, I don't sit up at night and worry about Maduro like, oh, he's going to terrorist attack the United States, we must nuke Caracas. No, that's Bushite bullshit. But he is killing his own people. He is illegitimate. He scrapped the Constitution of Venezuela was meant to prevent the sort of thing that's happening right now. But he seized control of the military. He purged the upper ranks of the military, installed people loyal to him, waited for a crisis, and became a dictator. Maduro is a dictator in Venezuela in everything but declaration. That's fundamentally what it is. There's no election down there. Fair elections, my ass. Absolutely, yeah, it's a fair elections. Now he's preventing the only main opponent that he has from even holding office. He unilaterally says, okay, Guaido's no longer allowed to hold office in the country. He can't run. Not that it matters. He's still got his own loyalists. By the way, the failed uprising of yesteryear, several days ago, is still very much there. He's still free, Juan Guaido is. He doesn't appear to be in prison. He appears to have a contingency of troops that have defected to him, although a small one. I think Maduro doesn't want to kill several thousand people and have to butcher tens of thousands of protesters in order to get to Guaido, and that's why he hasn't done anything about it. He's probably terrified right now. Apparently, he was planning actively to leave. So I'm glad that Pompeo is calling these people out for what they are. They're idiots. They are disgusting. It's disgusting to support ideologies that, if you look at history, have slaughtered and slaughtered and slaughtered. They've destroyed state after state. They've never been properly implemented. And here's one thing in closing. When like a commie says, well, real communism's never been tried. Okay, then communism is so shitty that you can't even implement it. It's such a horrifically failed ideology that you can't even get people to do it right, let alone actually get it to stick when it's implemented. What does that say about far-left ideology? And the harder-line versions of socialism go right along with it. And you can call like AOC or Sanders, you say, well, it's democratic socialism. Maduro was democratically elected. All I have to do is go to any socialist forum and they'll tell me that. Maduro is the legitimate leader. He was elected in a proper election. Okay, so he's a democratic socialist. So democratic socialism can be just as shitty as non-democratic socialism. Democratic socialism is the purges only begin after you go to the ballot box like a sheep and vote for one of two miscreants, like Maduro and whatever other socialist is fundamentally running against him in an election that I can't count on to be fair at all. And I don't care what Jimmy Carter says about elections in Venezuela. Do you honestly think that they were given full proper access to the polling places in a place like Venezuela? I doubt that very much. That's about all. Peace out.